Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Sports. I am Ralph Labella.
And I'm Ron Sen. It's been 323 days until we had a 90-degree day. But we've had two in a row now, and we hope to heat up your sports airwaves tonight. First, we want to talk a little bit about basketball coaching, our favorite subject, and winning with less talent. Probably the person who's written the most about this is U.B. Brown, Hall of Fame coach. And if you think about it, part of it is allowing fewer easy baskets on the other team, and the best way to do that is with stout defensive rebounding. Scoring more baskets yourself, and that means getting more possessions, meaning offensive rebounds, as well as forcing turnovers. Getting to the foul line, because 90% of games, at least in the NBA, where the team that shoots the more free throws wins. And finally, getting the ball into the hands of your best shooters. Now, we'll talk about that more, but this is not an equal opportunity sport. Just because you're on the floor doesn't mean you have to get as many shots as a player who's a more accomplished shooter with a higher shooting percentage. What do you think, Ralph?
Well, you know how I feel, Ron. A fair defensive team is going to be a fair team. A good defensive team is going to be a good team. It all comes from your defense. Your offense basically starts from your defense. Turnovers, rebounding, going into transition. I mean, that's the way I feel. And you can make, if you have fair players, all-around players, you can make them real good defensive players who are confident basketball players, and from there they become better offensive players. I mean, I've coached girls, you've coached girls who have started because of their defense. And then their offense develops as time goes by. But you get on the floor, I'll tell you, for any player, I always tell them, you get on the floor by playing real good defense.
Well, I've done surveys of players, and only about 30% of college players know what the coaches really want, what they're emphasizing, and even worse, only about 20% care. So I think the first issue is to get all the players on the same page with what your goals are. And, you know, the coach holds the ultimate weapon, the ultimate power, that is playing time. And you can be a really terrific contributor, maybe not have the most skill, but do what a team needs. And I always refer to our players, Anne-Marie Wiesen, who had a terrific senior season, setting screens, playing defense, rebounding, and cleaning up points on the offensive boards. Really an unsung player.
Well, that's what makes a team run. I mean, you have to be able to play a certain role if you're not a superstar to get on the floor. And Anne-Marie was that type of player. Good rebounder, like you said, very good defensively, set picks. I mean, how does Perkins get on the floor? He's got the least amount of talent in basketball. He gets on the floor because he sets picks, plays physical down low, but he's one play they don't want in at the end of the game.
Well, he hasn't, you know, speaking of Perkins, he hasn't done anything in this series. He's had a few moments, but he's really cost Miami, and to me, Carlson deserves a lot more time.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about him when he was with the Celtics when Ainge traded him, and everybody got upset at Ainge. They said they would have won it last year. They're crazy because Perkins was never in the game at the end of the games. They'd have Big Baby in the game back 2 years ago with Garnett. You never saw Perkins in there at the end of the game because he couldn't spread the floor. Number one, couldn't hit an open shot, couldn't hit a foul shot.
Well, as we tape tonight, it's the possible clinching game for the Heat in Miami. Obviously, if Oklahoma City can somehow pull it off, then they go back to Oklahoma City for a pair of games. You have to give LeBron James credit. He's averaging 30.5 points per game for the playoffs. He's also one of the top rebounders at 9.7 per game, and he has a chance to get the monkey off his back.
Well, you know how I feel about him. I mean, to me, in all the years I've been watching basketball, he's one of the top 5 basketball players I've ever seen. I mean, I go back to Bill Russell playing Wilt Chamberlain. They're probably the 2 top. You have Alcindor, number 3. You have
Michael Jordan.
Jordan, number 4.
Magic.
And well, I'd put LeBron James ahead of Magic and Bird. I mean, he hasn't won the championships yet. When you're talking about a basketball player, I would put him ahead of both of those players. I'd put him ahead of Oscar Robertson and Jerry West. Maybe Elgin Baylor, even ahead of Elgin Baylor. He does way more than those guys.
Well,
Ron.
an issue that's come up is the style of basketball has really changed a lot over the last 30, 40 years, not surprisingly, with players with terrific individual skills. So the argument is, has team play eroded in contrast to individual play? I mean, you see some great individual players all over the place, but the quality of the teams, I don't think that if you somehow could put the same, 86 Celtics on the floor against the Heat now, I think the Celtics could handle them.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the Celtics this year. I mean, look what they did to Miami. I mean, you always say, I mean, everybody has injuries. Bosch was out till the last 3 games. But Celtics didn't have Bradley, didn't have Green, and didn't have Wilcox. You put Bosch on Miami, you put those 3 players on the Celtics are playing in the finals with that team. I mean, so the Celtics were a team. They had the injuries that really hurt them.
Well, speaking of contribution in the playoffs, I was looking at the statistics today. Rondo far and away led the playoffs in assists at 11.9. He was 3rd in steals. He was in the top 20 in scoring at over 17 points a game. And he was in the top 30 in rebounding. So, I know we've been critical of his play at times, but, he really came on in the playoffs.
He didn't play well against Philly. He hurt them against Philly. The reason why he went 7 games against Philly is because of Rondo. They were doubling off of him. They were doubling Pierce. They were doubling Garnett at times. But Pierce couldn't do anything against that defense because every time Pierce got the ball, Rondo's man would leave and double him because they weren't worried about Rondo hitting the shot. They kick it back to Rondo. They recover. And that's why it went 7 games. So in that series, Rondo didn't have a good series. He might have had a couple of good games. But in the Miami series, to me as a fan who's been critical of him at times, he played his best ball in that Miami series. If he can continue playing that type of basketball with that much confidence, then he's going to be a terrific basketball player. He's not a terrific basketball player right now. People are crazy that say he is. I mean, he has a triple-doubles. Number one, when he gets a triple-double, half his rebounds he takes away from his own teammates. They got the player boxed out. They're ready to get the rebound. There's Rondo coming flying in. So half of his rebounds, I mean, they're fake rebounds because actually, again, Garnett's looking at him half the time. There's Rondo when he's ready to get the rebound. I mean, assists, he always has the ball in the stand. He's got to get 10 assists a game on that Celtic team. And then points, how hard is it to get 10 points?
Yeah.
But Ron, he has, in the Miami series, he showed a lot more confidence.
Well, I'm pretty ambivalent about the results tonight. The Thunder have been close, and they're not getting anything from James Harden.
What's going on with Harden?
I don't know. Harden just can't seem to get anything done. They're not getting as much as they should from Cephalosha. He's a better player than he's played.
They're going to win tonight. Do you like him tonight?
I do like him tonight because so many of their guys really aren't playing well. So I'm looking for some kind of statistical return to the mean. On the other hand, is James going to come out and score 45 points and have 15 rebounds, which he might. He's really earned everything that he's gotten in the postseason here. And, is he going to be the villain forever, or is he going to wear the mantle of the champion? I think this year is going to be his year. Yeah,
and I like my feeling about James. I mean, he was an idiot the way he left Cleveland. We all know that. But, I mean, he's one of the best. He's the best basketball player in the world right now. There's no one better than him. And he was a jerk doing that.
Well, if somehow they don't win, I think he'll be the only 3-time MVP that hasn't been on a champion.
And with people, again, and I said this last show, the difference between James and Michael Jordan and Kobe is James is not a great shooter. Michael Jordan became a great shooter when he got into his late 20s, and Kobe hits the big shot. And I remember telling a fellow worker, I'm saying, watch James, not a big basketball fan, but he was watching the Celtics playoffs against Miami. And when James scored 40-something, he goes to me, I thought you said James can't hit the pull-up jump shot. I said, I didn't say he can't hit it. I said he's not consistent. And that's why people knock him at the end of games. He's not a great shooter. When teams play tough defense, you can't get to the basket as easy. You got to hit that shot like Jordan and Kobe. Well, James isn't a great shooter, so they're knocking James for not hitting those shots.
When the Heat lost to the Celtics a couple of years ago, the Heat, in crunch time, nobody really wanted to take the shot. Now
they weren't confident.
Right. Now it seems that people are willing to do it, and they've done a lot of damage going to the hoop. Wade has been incredible. And the other stylistic change that I've noticed this season is how many times have you seen people bat the rebounds out? That was not a part of normal rebounding, and that seems to be a big part of every game now.
Right. And what I would say, Ron, the one thing I would tell people is don't compare James to Michael Jordan. There's never been a Michael Jordan before. There never will be another Michael Jordan. To me, he was the best non-center I've ever seen play. And Kobe was second to him, so you can't, James just isn't that type of player. But I'll tell you, James is better than Kobe, I believe, his all-around game.
Well, the one player we haven't mentioned is Kevin Durant. Now, I have trouble kind of comparing Durant to anybody.
Lenny Byers, but no one saw him
Well,
play.
right, that's who I think of. But I also think a little bit about Bob McAdoo. He was a guy who played at North Carolina, and then he was on Buffalo Braves. I think he was on the Celtics for a cup of coffee.
Yeah, but
he wasn't at his skills. But now, he could not take the balls to the basket like Durant. To me, he's more like a 6 inches taller Jerry West. I mean, it's just shocking the skills that Durant has.
he's unbelievable. He shoots like Lewis and Allen. He goes to the basket like no one I know. I'll tell you one player who's going to be going to, but he's not as big as him, is Rivers' kid. He can go to the basket. But Durant, he's just an unbelievable. He's the best offensive player in basketball.
Right. Nobody blocks his shot. I mean, you know, his pull-up, he's a foot over everybody.
But, in the big games, though, you double team him now. What's he going to do? Kick the ball to Westbrook?
Right.
And then with Harden not playing well, I would take Durant right out of the game. Let Westbrook beat you. Because a lot of games, Westbrook shoots like 6 for 20.
Well, the other guy who hasn't done as much as I thought he would is Derek Fisher. I thought Fisher would be a real sniper and be a difference maker, and it hasn't been so far.
Yeah, him and Harden, it's amazing. But I have a feeling, I believe Oklahoma City's going to win today, and Miami better watch out if they win today.
Well, the other thing about the NBA is sometimes you have the sense that it's a bit like World Wrestling Association or whatever it is, that the calls come out of nowhere, the sprinklers come out of the floor, and the NBA would love to have another game or two to have great ratings and great money coming in.
What do you think the Celtics are going to do?
That's a great question. Because the Celtics, they ran out of steam more than anything else, and obviously they have.
I don't agree with that, Ron.
Nobody thinks that Ray Allen is coming back. Garnett, Ainge seems to think that he's going to be with the Celtics or not at all. The Clippers are apparently hot after him, and if somebody says to you, "Well, come back to us for $10 million a year," or go to the Clippers for $15 million, we might say, well, if that's $5 million to Kevin Garnett, well, that's more money than any of us can ever think about. $5 million is a lot of money.
But you know what I heard, though, about Garnett? He's very loyal to the Celtics. He loves Rivers. He loves Pierce and the rest of the players. He likes Rondo a lot now. They used to bang heads earlier on, but he loves them now. And people are saying that if he comes back, he'll come back to the Celtics, which is kind of weird because if I was him, I'd go to the team that you knew you had a real good shot of winning it. Someone like the Clippers, with him on the team.
Clippers or
Lakers,
San Antonio.
And the Lakers getting him and then trading Bynum or someone, Gasol. When they get him and get another pretty good player, Lakers will be picked to win the West with him on that team.
Well, we always talk about hometown discount and how few players actually do take it. Probably the number one player, not in basketball out there, is Josh Hamilton in Texas. What's he going to do? Because he's a franchise player. He may
want to go to the Yankees. Who knows? Play on a team like that. The limelight.
I don't know.
But I think he likes Ryan, though.
I think so, and there's an article on him recently in Sports Illustrated. He's a very religious guy trying to overcome his alcohol and drug issues, and he's the kind of player I'd like to see be the franchise player for Texas, going to the Hall of Fame from Texas, just like Jeter from the Yankees.
Yeah, I think he'll stay there.
I hope so.
Look at Jeter hitting .316 still.
He's had a terrific year. Obviously what makes sports great are stories about individual players as well as teams. And a lot of news about individual players right now. If we talked about Kevin Youkilis earlier, we just talked about Kevin Garnett. The third Kevin that is sort of in the news now and then is Kevin Falk from the Patriots. Now, Falk had a lengthy career. He's not a Hall of Fame player or anything like that, but I was thinking, what's the biggest play you remember from Falk's career? And it's a negative.
It's a negative, and he got the first down run. If the ref got blocked, you remember, he throws it against Indianapolis.
It was the 4th and 2.
4th and 2 play against Indianapolis. They would have went to the Super Bowl. That's the season they would have went to the Super Bowl. And if they get the first down, Brady hits him. He just has a first down, but he bobbles the ball. If you saw the replay, the ref that made the call, a player cut in front of him. The ref sees him bobble the ball. The ref doesn't see him when he recovers the ball and gets hit. The next time the ref sees him is after he gets hit, and he gets hit about a half a yard forward, and doesn't have the first down any longer. But if the ref had seen the whole play, if they had a replay, they would have given him the first down in that play. But that's the biggest play.
Right. And I thought there was some irony in that I think that's how he'll be remembered, even though he did a lot of great things. Played on 3 Super Bowl champions, must have been on 5 Super Bowl teams.
You talk about a team player.
Oh, right.
But he has to go. They can't keep him this year.
And he was...
I think he retired anyway, didn't he?
Well, no, he's hoping they'll call him, but I think that if anything, he'll be affiliated with the team or as a coach, but really exemplary career.
Yeah. I want to see Vereen and Ridley play this year a lot. That's what I like, because Vereen's quicker than Ridley. Well,
the other issue that came up this week is that the Patriots violated an unwritten rule. They claimed Jake Ballard, who the Giants tried to sneak through waivers, and the Patriots will be obligated to pay his salary. He had a knee injury. I think he had ACL surgery. And there's a lot of whining and crying from the New York papers about the Patriots breaking the rules again.
Well, all the Giants have to do is go look at the highlights of the 2 Super Bowls we blew to them that we should have won. When you really think of that, Pat should have won those 2, but not won the first one, because that game against Oakland, it should have been a fumble on Brady, but that new tuck rule. So, when you look at that, the Pats shouldn't have won that. The Pats really shouldn't have been in the finals last year, because they had the touchdown, Baltimore, and they got the ball stripped in the end zone.
Well, and they missed a chip shot field goal.
But, it all comes to, when you look at it that way, people are saying they should have 6 Super Bowls, because when we talk about the Falk missed first down, they would have went to the Super Bowl and beat Chicago easy that year. Indianapolis beat them easy. And then the 2 that we blew against the Giants. But they have been in all those Super Bowls, so.
Well, we'll be right back.
Athlete Training Tips by Athletic Evolution, giving you the edge.
We're back with Athlete Training Tips. My name's Scott Duggan here at Athletic Evolution. This week I'm going to take you through another core exercise, and our other strength coach, Chris Zardis, is going to take you through some running mechanic drills. So I'm going to take you through one of our explosive core exercises called overhead toss. Main principle of this is we're taking this med ball and throwing it towards the wall, only we don't want to use our arms, we want to use our core. So in order to do that, main focus is to keep our arms straight at the top, not bend them like so. Keep them nice and straight, just up as high as we can, and then we're going to throw with our core and fire our butt back at the same time. So up nice and tall, throw, and come all the way back. The idea of this is to get the med ball moving as fast as possible, using our core, outbending our arms, shooting our butt back. We want to aim for a line drive, not too low, not too high, straight ahead. If we have a wall, I usually say about 5 bricks up. So one more time, nice and tall, fire the butt back. What you don't want to see is this, throw them with the arms, not getting the core into it, or straight arms, not throwing the butt back. A lot of times if an athlete's too far away, he'll try and overcompensate and mess up his form. So we want to make sure the athlete, adjust the athlete's distance so they can concentrate on form and still get that line drive about 5 bricks high. So up nice and tall, throw with that core, shoot our butt back. We'll be back in just a minute with Chris Zardis. He's going to take us through some running mechanics.
Hi, I'm Chris Zardis from Athletic Evolution. I'm here with Larry, one of our other strength coaches. Today we're going to take you through some of our proper running mechanics. Okay, so first we're going to get our athlete up against the wall. Arms locked out, fully extended against the wall. We're going to start with one leg up. Let's go right leg, knee up, toe up. Make sure we're getting that nice flexion in the toe. Straight line between our ankle, knee, and hip, okay? Larry's going to lean. He's going to squeeze his glutes all the way and squeeze his abs nice and tight. That's going to keep that straight line. Then I'm going to cue the athlete to switch. Switch. As he's switching, he's driving that back leg towards the heel. Driving back, getting extension in all 3, ankle, knee, and hip, and driving the opposite leg up and bringing his toe up as well. Common fault you'll see is a toe pointed down. Larry, good. We don't want to see that. We want to see the athlete with the toe pointed up, keeping those arms out locked fully, okay? From there, we'll tell the athlete to switch continuously on my command. So it's switch, 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 rest. Good. Okay, so there, the athlete's driving every time back towards their heel, getting that extension in, again, the knee, the hip, and the ankle. From there, we'll generally have the athlete switch on coach's command and then go continuous, okay? So Larry, hop up there again, get that good lean. Good, move that left foot back a little bit, good. Get that nice angle there. Knee up, toe up, switch, 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 go. Good, driving those knees up, toes up now. Good, rest. Good, next we're gonna go to our arm mechanics. All right, now that we got our leg mechanics down, we're gonna work on the arms. The arms is the most important part of our form running. Okay, so we got Larry down here on his knees, and he's gonna go put both arms out with that 90-degree, both arms, Larry, right out front, with that 90-degree bend in his elbow, okay? That elbow, he's gonna stay right there. Keep that bend in his elbow continuous. He's gonna rotate at the shoulder and not at the elbow, okay? So he's gonna bring your left arm back and your right arm up. Good, that front hand is gonna be right about, even with his nose, about 6 inches out in front, and the back one's gonna be tucked in that hip pocket. Again, just like the running mechanics, we're gonna say switch, 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 rest. Good, now Larry was just showing you the motion there. We're gonna be a little bit more violent and a little bit more aggressive with those arms, arm pumps back. So we're throwing the elbow back. We're gonna get a little more aggressive with it this set. I'm gonna give him a switch, 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 and then a continuous, just like we did with the leg mechanics, okay? So switch, 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 go. Notice that bend in the elbow is staying uniform and he's rotating at the shoulder. Keeping his eyes at a conversational plane. Good, rest. Very good, Larry. Most important thing we're seeing here is the arm isn't collapsing at the top and it's not extending out the back. He's keeping that elbow bend consistent all the way through, rotating at the shoulder. Good. That's what we have this week for our athlete training tips. Thanks for tuning in. See you guys next week.
Athletic Evolution staff of energetic, motivated, and certified professional strength coaches will help you get to the level you aspire to achieve. At Athletic Evolution, it starts with a purpose and ends with your success. Visit our website or drop into our training facility at 78B Olympia Avenue, Woburn, Mass. Athletic Evolution, giving you the edge.
Welcome back. And then we have the Boston Red Sox, a team full of drama and not so many wins. If you subtract the first 14 games of the season, then they're playing 606 baseball. If we subtract September last year, they won the World Series. But unfortunately, we're not allowed to do that. Today, David Ortiz went crazy before the media and said there's too much drama and it's all the media's fault.
I don't blame him, Ron. I mean, that's all they hear. I mean, for the last 2 weeks, that's all they're hearing. It's toxic clubhouse, this one or that one. When's Euclid going? What do you think of it, Lou?
I think it started with the media. When you think about it last year, I mean, well, yeah, it started with the players, and you know, we can talk about the fried chicken, the beer, but you know, there's no story if the media doesn't go in there and continually prod away at it. And then when even if it did go away, I mean, we don't know what kind of clubhouse they have this year. We don't know what the camaraderie is. All we know is that the product on the field stinks right now, and reporters, like fans, they want an answer. So therefore, it's going to be, we're going to just hammer away at them. And yeah, you can see why Ortiz would get a little bit upset with that after a while. You're sick of hearing it.
Well, it's the same story. Winning cures a lot of ailments, and when you're not winning, you need to find scapegoats, whether it's, the real issue is non-performance of the pitching staff, especially the alleged aces that really aren't getting the job done.
Yeah, like we said, I've said a number of times, baseball is like 6 different seasons. Right now, they're on a streak. They look good. They're in a good mood, the players. The key here now is Euclid. I think once they trade him, things will be a lot better. There won't be really that much to talk about because I think they're going to win a lot with this team. This team still has a ton of talent.
They do, and they have young talent, too. Some of them, I like Kalish. I think he's a guy that, you know, you look at him and you say he wouldn't have gotten the playing time if they had the outfield that they were supposed to have, you know? I mean, I think the ideal situation was he was going to be healthy this year. They were going to bring him up. He'd do whatever he could. And now it's like, if you own an outfielder's glove, they'll give you a spot out there, you know? But defense is one thing. It's the pitching has been absolutely horrendous. As you said, the starters are just, I mean, come on. They don't have a starter under 4 for an ERA. And Beckett, I think statistically, is their best pitcher, and he's the alleged ace of the staff, and he's just been terrible. So, you know,
Well, the mystery is John Lester. He's a guy who looked like he was about to step up, compete for a Cy Young, and he's regressed, and it's not really clear why. Whether he's got dice-K-itis and afraid to throw the ball over the plate, or he's lost command. He just doesn't look like the same guy right now.
I think that, you know what, I think it's mental, personally. I've never heard anybody talk about it, but I don't think he's recovered from that whole September fallout thing. You know, I think he was one of those guys that he reminded me of someone that was on the periphery. He wasn't a clubhouse leader. He was just kind of I'm going to follow along with, like, Beckett was his big brother, you know. He'd follow along with them, and, you know, then all that fallout, he seems like the kind of laid-back guy that didn't know how to handle that whole thing. Probably December came around, and he probably was sitting at home thinking, did we really collapse like that? And then all of a sudden you got these expectations that he is supposed to, as far as I'm concerned, he's the left-hander, he's younger, he's supposed to be that guy that they're going to put these expectations on, and I think he's just wilted.
He got the Beckett lackey attitude. That was his problem. I remember saying last year during the year, I said, there's something different with him. He's arguing over every call that's close. He doesn't get it. He makes a face. He never did that.
You're right.
When he was pitching his best ball, he never, ever complained. But I think it's just Beckett's attitude, Lackey's attitude, and that's what happened to him. I believe that's what happened to him.
You know, in any sport, if you complain to the umpires or the refs, you know they're gonna listen to you, and they're gonna, oh, I'm sorry, okay, I'll make it up to you. It's only gonna get worse. The strike zone, his strike zone is the size of a Dixie cup at this point. They don't want to hear it from him.
Well, in psychology, they call it attributional bias, where if you win, it's because you were great, everything was working, you were in the zone. If you lose, it was the umpiring, the grass was too wet, the balls were too heavy, the wind was blowing, the sun was in my eyes. You know, it's external factors that really aren't your fault. And baseball, sure, there's a little bit of that stuff that goes on. We all see that. In basketball, we see the officiating. We just say that's horrendous. But in baseball, it seems like it evens out.
But you look at the Red Sox, right? When Crawford comes back, Ellsbury comes back, they trade Euclid. What I would recommend what they do is just have a team meeting after that. Get together and say, listen, we have a ton of talent here. It's going to be a waste if the same thing happens that happened last year in the beginning of this year. We should be playing at a higher level, and let's go out and do it. Because to me, again, I'm a Yankee fan. They're a better team than the Yankees. What happens with the Yankees is they have a number of players like Jeter who keeps the team together. You know, and in the pitching staff, they got 3 or 4 starters that keep the starting unit together. They're meeting with them constantly. Sabathia is constantly meeting with them, the pitching staff, and they get along really well. Well, what do you have for the Red Sox? Beckett? Who's he going to meet with? Who's he going to get together with?
Yeah, they could use some leaders. I was going to cite Jeter a second ago. I'll tell you, if you walk up to Jeter early in the season, Yankees are struggling, and you ask him what's going on, he's going to say, well, we're not winning because we stink right now. You know, he'll give you a straightforward answer. There's never a problem there. And I really think that, you know, somebody from the Red Sox needs to step up and do that. I don't know. Maybe what do they got to do, you know? Well, I mean, they got to go bring back some players from the past.
Silly season sometimes. Obviously, when Francona left, some of the players who were Francona guys were disenfranchised. On the other hand, the players didn't live up to their end of the bargain. They couldn't behave as responsible, mature adults, so then you have a different atmosphere. Now, Pedroia's hurt. You know, you can tell he's hurt the way he's swinging the bat. Oh, yeah. There's nothing you can say about that. And how long is he going to stay in there and struggle because he's hurt? Apparently, Saltalamacchia loves Valentine. He got a chance. He's in there every day. He's producing. You know, I'm not saying he's an all. He might make the All-Star team. Whether he deserves it or not, that's debatable. And apparently, Gonzalez has been very supportive, taking more of a leadership role. And you know, you take a Gold Glove first baseman and stick him in right field, it's got to affect his game.
Yeah, it came out today that a lot of the players that have been there for a few years really miss Francona now. They're saying, what did we do? You know, we got rid of Francona goes, now we got Valentine. And they're looking at it and they're saying, wow, what a difference. And those are the players like Pedroia and all the players that have been there. But I still think the key is you have to trade Euclid. You have to get rid of Euclid. And then hopefully when Crawford and Ellsbury comes back.
No, first of all, the guy's making a fortune, so you're going to have to pay his salary anyway.
Well, just this year, right? $12 million?
Right. So you're going to pay probably 90% of it. Second of all, he's, at this point, a not very productive offensive player with no range at all. So you're not going to get much. If somebody would give me a new carton of baseballs, I'd take it and say, good luck, Kevin.
I'd take a chance with him, though, if I was another team and I needed a third baseman, because I'll tell you, he's still young enough.
He could use it.
If he gets it back,
change of scenery.
One of the best players in baseball.
Change of scenery has worked for so many people. And you know what? You look at the one thing that used to be his calling card when they called him the Greek god of walks. On base percentage, he fought. He'd fight that 8-9 pitch at bat, find a way to get on base. Plus, he was good with the power numbers and just hitting gappers. I mean, he's not doing any of that anymore.
It's a buyer's market out there. They talk about Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, the White Sox. A lot of teams might be able to get something, but the Sox aren't going to get much back.
Arms. They need arms. They have to get. I'll tell you, they righted their bullpen somewhat early in the year.
Well, the bullpen's been tremendous.
I mean,
yeah,
the kid.
Starters, though.
I mean, the kid Middlebrooks. He's got power. He can run. He's going to be defensively better than Youkilis is right now. Eventually. So
what's going on with Gonzalez, though? He's the key.
You know,
I never thought he'd be this bad. I thought they overpaid.
But I think
they gave away 4 top prospects.
I think it's tough if you put a guy totally out of position.
Yeah, but he wasn't hitting before they did that.
I know that, but
260
still.
Since September, when after the All-Star break last year, his power numbers dipped a little. They've never come back up. It's almost like
I don't know why anyone would ever agree to go in the home run derby. You see so many guys get screwed up after that.
But it's going to be a disgrace if they don't make the playoffs with that talent.
Yeah.
Especially if Ellsbury comes back and Crawford. As much as I dislike that move because $20 million for Crawford was a disgrace.
Yeah, definitely.
Giving him that much money.
Well, you have Andrew Bailey who hasn't, been able to pitch, and then Bard. I don't really think Bard's problems are solved so far. He hit a couple guys last night and wasn't effective, so we'll see on him.
But I really predict if they can just get it together, especially after Youkilis goes, there's no reason why they can't beat out the Yankees. I mean, I don't know how the Yankees won 10 in a row. They won it because of their pitching.
Yeah,
because they're hitting. They don't come up. Again, you know what I feel about A-Rod and Teixeira.
No, the hitters are getting old in the Yankees, no question. But you know what? They have the arms to pull it off to some degree. I mean, I know you look at the Yankees. Hughes is having a terrible season.
Well, he was pitching. He pitched 3 real good games in a row, then he got killed last night.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is
it's all control with him.
If you watch a lot of Red Sox games, the defense is a lot worse than it seems. There's a lot of errors that are called hits. Kalish the other night, ball hits at the bottom of the wall. He stops before the warning track. He should have had that ball. He drops another ball.
Well, he's not used to it, that problem.
Well, I understand, but if Cody Ross is a circus in left field, there are a lot of mediocre defensive players on the team right now.
Yeah, Ross was the guy. Ross was going to be, as Parcells said, the good holdover guy, the hold-the-fort guy. He was going to come in, and then you were going to have Ellsbury in center. You were going to have Crawford in left. A good defensive outfield. And now what do you have? You got a first baseman playing right field. You got these other guys that maybe they can play. I mean, the thing about Kalish, I thought that he had I don't know. You know what? I think Kyle Yastrzemski right now at 74 years old would have caught that ball the other night. He would have ran back to the wall and caught it.
Well, he just didn't know the park. He didn't know the.
Yeah, it's not
just
knowing
made
the
a
park,
mistake.
exactly.
I don't think that's representative.
Well, he's not a center fielder, is he?
No, he'll play anywhere.
No, it's the unfamiliarity.
But he's not familiar with it.
That's exactly what it is.
To me, he's reminiscent of a guy like Grady Sizemore, who spent most of his career hurt for the Indians, but looked like he was going to be a superstar.
Still spending most of his career.
But people don't realize the reason why Gonzalez is playing right field isn't because they don't have outfielders.
No, it's because
he's playing there because they want Youkilis to play, get some playing time.
And that's a disgrace because you showcase Youkilis. The other teams aren't stupid. They know you're trying to dump him.
Yeah.
If you need to play a third baseman, it doesn't matter if he's hitting 218. You're going to look at it and say, hey, listen, what is he, 34?
Yeah.
He's 34 years old. He's been hurt the last 2 years. Healthy, he could be one of the best players in baseball. Let's take a shot. We'll pay half of his salary or a third of his salary.
They won't even have to pay that much.
But you know what it is? Right now, nobody's going to trade. Any team that wants to trade for Youkilis, they're trading for what they hope he can give. So the showcasing thing, even if he goes on a tear, I can't see teams lining up to sign him. I think they're already looking at it as how low can we get the price? Let's give up the least we possibly can, and then let's
give
hope
up a minor league player.
Change of scenery for Uke is going to make this guy what he was. Maybe not in 2005, 2006. Maybe we'll get a reasonable facsimile and get a guy that can give us a couple of years.
But even the key, Beckett doesn't like Youkilis because he feels Youkilis is the one who opened his mouth last year when they had the problems with the beer and the chicken.
And Ellsbury can't stand him either.
You know, so they get rid of Euclid. You know, they're younger, number one, a little more power, and Beckett's probably feeling better. If Beckett's feeling better, Lester's probably feeling better, the way he follows Beckett.
Kinda, from a psychology standpoint, it's kind of
They may
sad.
take off.
It's kind of sad to think that these guys making $10 million a year. We
They're
gotta,
babies,
we
half
gotta
of them.
glad handle them to that degree. It's
Well,
like, you know,
They're not KGs, I'll tell you that.
You're right about
You grow
that.
up with a dream of playing a child's game that you love. Then you make a king's ransom doing it, and what happens? You complain about having to carry your luggage, having to play, Sunday night games because you're a popular team while you're making $20 million a year.
But no, you're right.
It's absurd.
They should have him watch a film of Kevin Garnett. Just watch Kevin Garnett
bring
prepare
him in.
himself for a game, play the game. And then, I mean, they should be embarrassed the way they collapsed last year and the way they're playing this year. That team is probably one of the top 2 or 3 talented
I
teams in
agree with you.
baseball.
Talent, and then how far they've actually gone in realizing that talent is not even close. They could, if only they had a KG. That's the thing.
Well, the other thing is you have a general manager who periodically apologizes for this, that, or the other thing, when his biggest job is to, let's face it, ask Larry whether he wants 1 scoop of sugar or 2 with his coffee in the morning.
Yeah, you look at players like Pettit coming back, 39 years old. Look at the way he's pitching.
I'd like to know how the heck that happened.
I mean, they should look at it. I mean, I really think they're going out with an attitude. Beckett, Lester, Buck Holtz is starting to put it together.
Well, he's trying. I think of all the guys, Felix Doubront looks like he's getting every bit out of his talent that he can. And
He's
I
going to
like
be another Pettit, I think.
I like him. I think he's on the rise. I think he's only going to improve. I think Beckett's underachieving. Lester's definitely underachieving. Okay, Dice K, at his best,
not a bad fifth starter, though.
At his best, wasn't all that great.
But
for the
Scott
money.
Boras likes what he sees from Dice K.
Yeah, I know.
Well, he's not pitching bad.
He's breathing.
For a fifth starter, the Red Sox just aren't hitting when he pitches.
That's the key. You're right. As a fifth starter, getting him, if he can give them, I hate to say it like this, but if he can give them a 4 ERA, he's going to be one of their best starters.
Well,
I would take him on the Yankees as a fifth starter over, what's his name, Corona.
I'd take him right now.
If you have, bite my tongue, Tim Wakefield winning 50% of your games, or at least getting you in 50% of your games as a fifth starter, what's that worth to your team nowadays?
I think they made a mistake in letting him retire. I think they should have talked him out of it. And I never thought I'd be saying that.
Do you think they have a shot at the playoffs? A good shot?
You know how I feel. I thought the Yankees in Tampa were better than they were anyway. And then you have the Angels playing much better with young guys, Trout and Trumbo, Pujols coming on, and they got better pitching than the Red Sox up front. So I think the Angels, Rangers, Yankees, Tampa, and then who's in the Central?
Chicago.
They're doing it with
Little.
mirrors. Detroit is still the best team, whether they win it or not.
I know. What's going on with Detroit? They can't win. It's unbelievable. The way they started off.
You know, baseball's such a funny game.
Yeah.
You have Matt Cain with a perfect game the other night, and Phil Umber with a perfect game. See, how many times do you see 2 perfect games in a year? And the average of baseball throughout history has been about 260. The difference in baseball has been, over time, the standard deviation around the average. In other words, 95% of players are going to hit within 2 standard deviations, and that's been, in the past, or more recently, about 20 points. Okay, so if you have 2 standard deviations, statistically, you're going to have plenty of guys who can hit 300. But nobody's going to hit 400. That's 7 standard deviations. It's like, what's the temperature tomorrow in New York City? 140.
Yeah, exactly.
So, now this year in Major League Baseball, the average is 252. Well, what is that? Well, I think we all have a guess what it is. It's, lack of performance-enhancing drugs across the league.
True, but something that seems like it's helped pitchers a lot too, though, over the years. I mean, you can look at that, and you remember when Sammy Sosa hit 60 home runs 3 times and didn't win the home run title. That's all you need to think about, the late 90s, early 2000s, and now all of a sudden, what do you have? You got perfect games, no hitters.
You talk about a cheater. Sosa was unbelievable. I was watching a film last night. They got him with a cork bat, and he said he used that bat for batting practice. He picked the wrong bat out. And I'm saying to myself, you talk about when him and McGuire really changed things when they went on it. And Barry Bonds saw that. They were getting all the publicity. So he says, hey, the heck with it, I'm going to start taking them.
Yeah.
And then it just took off.
Well, I think cheating in professional sports is rampant. and the attitudes become, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. Look at Joel Peralta, suspended 8 games for pine tar in his glove. Well, if you can't get people out without, dirtying up the baseball. On the other hand, you had Gaylord Perry, who was
the master.
Exactly. He had
master.
Vaseline. And
They finally caught him.
And
they showed that film
the
last
greatest
night.
story ever was when the Red Sox had a relief pitcher named John Wyatt. Somehow he got on the bases. He slid into home plate and a tube of Vaseline fell out of his pant pocket.
Oh, that's unbelievable.
Did you see that last night when they showed that? All
No.
the players cheating? It's
No.
unbelievable. The sandpaper on the gloves. They cut out the glove.
Yeah, the sandpaper on the glove was the old one for the pitcher because they'd be in here, turning their hand. You don't realize they're scuffing the ball.
Well, Whitey Ford was throwing the ball to Elston Howard, and Howard would catch the ball near the dirt and then rub it on the ground and throw it back. So nothing really changes. It's just nowadays we have more replay, we have more cameras, and the enforcement is a little bit more scrutinized.
Well, at the end of the day, though, I think it's obvious to me that the Red Sox aren't cheating because if they were, they wouldn't have a losing record at home, and they wouldn't be just barely a few games over 500 with us looking up at every other team in the division going, what happened? I thought we were supposed to be getting into the playoffs this year.
I think some players are still staying ahead of the curve with the performance-enhancing drugs.
They always do. There's always a step ahead.
I know one Red Sox player who's definitely still taking it.
Well,
you don't go from not being able to hit a pitch 2 years ago to being one of the best home run hitters again in baseball 2 years later. It's unbelievable.
Looks like the authorities are catching up with some of the guys because we hear that Lance Armstrong's under the gun. So they're getting better at testing, and they always have old samples from guys. So
talk about closing the barn door after the horses are gone. I mean, Lance Armstrong, when he was winning 7 in a row, it was all about, oh no, he's the greatest cyclist of all time. And then he retires, he comes back, and now all of a sudden, former teammates are diming him out. Everybody's this. I sold him drugs at a bus stop. I saw him injecting himself in the toilet. Sports are funny, aren't they?
How about poor Roger Clemens too? Huh?
We'll be right back.
On and off the court, Visionary Basketball Group delivers programs that empower players with skills for athletic and personal success. Our players undergo learning experiences that position them for positive lifelong achievement on and off the court. With a year-round training philosophy, BBG can assist you in reaching your full potential as a player with conditioning, basketball fundamentals, position-specific training, and skills and drills taught by the best coaches in New England. For more information, visit our website at visionarybasketball.com or drop into our new athletic performance center located at 152 Tremont Street, Melrose, Mass. VBG, complete your vision.
Welcome back. Long, long ago in a galaxy far away, but I digress. We want to talk a little bit about the relationship between coaches and parents. I call this the prime directive. We've been parents, having our kids play sports competitively at reasonable levels, and sometimes you have success, or your youngster has success, and sometimes less success. But what I call the prime directive is every parent understandably wants what is best for their youngster. How can it be otherwise? You want your youngster to make the team, you want your youngster to be able to be a major contributor, hopefully a starter, and you want a lot of success for them. I don't think any parent, willfully roots against another player, another student, but they want success for their child, more so even than wanting the team to be successful. And I always remember a quote from a coach who said, every parent would rather see their kid be all-state than their team win the state championship.
Well, I think it comes down to even more than that, Ron. I think all parents want their children to have fun. And they're going to have fun by playing, being part of the team. And they're not going to have as much fun, most of the kids, when they're sitting on the bench, especially the ones that think they should be playing. So that's a huge key. From all the years I've coached, that's what I've seen. And that's the way I was, especially with my 2 daughters and son when they played sports, as long as they were happy and having a good time, that was the fun part. Of course, you're in the stands hoping they win, they go to the States like we did in volleyball that year when your 2 daughters played with my daughter, and and they went to the States. But
well, what you're hoping mostly in those situations, it's not your kid who blows it for
Oh,
everybody.
I remember one year in football, my son playing cornerback against Woburn, and he got burnt at the end of the game. And that's,
Well,
I don't want to talk about that.
They were talking last night at the Red Sox game. Kalish dropped the ball, and he said, "That's the worst thing I've ever done." And Cody Ross went over him and said, "If that's the worst thing you ever do, you're lucky."
But, I mean, right back to high school sports. I mean, that's what you want. As most parents want their daughters or sons just to be happy playing on the team and competing at a level and participating and being part of something.
Well, and girls' sports are a little bit different than boys' sports. I think that as a young man growing up, you expect if you're struggling or you're not doing the right thing, the coach is going to yell at you, he's going to scream at you. That's just part of the rite of passage. That's how it is done. But as girls, I think if you're going to correct them, I think they appreciate it in a less public, less aggressive way. They want to do the right thing. What I like about coaching girls is they really want to get better. The kids, they're hungry for knowledge. They want to improve. They want to be successful. They want to please the coaches. And they want to really be part of something bigger than themselves.
Well, you saw what happened for us Monday with our girls. They're going to be 8th graders this year. Westford beat us pretty good last year in the league. We went up against the same team this Monday, and we just did a number on them. Our girls they're playing an up-tempo game, they're pressure-type game, and Westford, they just couldn't handle it. They were just the whole game we were in their face, and they just couldn't handle our pressure. And you saw how our girls felt. But this is a special group that we have now. I mean, all 11 girls on our team just want to become the best they can be. And as a coach and as a player, it makes it a lot of fun because everybody's on the right page, Ron.
Right. John Wooden talks about a number of things that he really seeks in his players, and he goes into his pyramid of success. Number one, industry, the willingness to work hard to be successful. Number two is enthusiasm. Nothing great is accomplished without enthusiasm. Number three is conditioning. You need great conditioning to be able to play a fast basketball game. And to quote Wooden, basketball is a game meant to be played fast. Number four is fundamentals. We work probably at least 50% of the time, every practice, on fundamentals. And in European basketball, they spend, even at the professional level, 2/3 of their time on fundamentals, which is critical. And last, team play. The team is greater than the sum of the parts. And we're really fortunate we have a great bunch of kids who are really all about the team.
Right, and I mean, you just see it at every practice. I've never seen, we've had this team for 4 years now. We haven't seen one player complain. I mean, and they know, the best part of this is that I can be really aggressive with them, on them, and demand, and I always know you're there to keep them under control and maybe get across them a little better than I would. But, it works good. It works good. And then, and the girls know it. They know that we both care a lot about them, so if we get on them, they know we still care about it.
We've also told them the same thing that my coach told me. If the coach never yells at you, never criticizes you, never comments on how you're playing, then you're lost. The coach has given up on you. He's not going to waste his or her time yelling at you or correcting you because they feel there's no value there.
Right, and you look at the type of players. When you have basically an all-star team, which these girls are, they're the best 8th graders in the city. There's another B team that has some good players on it too. So this class to me is loaded. But these are the type of players you want to coach. One director told me one time back in softball. He goes, "Ralph," he goes, "this is just recreation. You get too into it. You have practices, you have more practices than the other coaches. And some of these kids don't want it." So I said they'll want it if they become better at it.
Well, we've had a lot of discussions about an area, coach philosopher, a great player during his career at Winchester High School and at Penn, and made the NBA, is Bob Bigelow. And Coach Bigelow and player Bigelow's philosophy at this point, it's about participation, getting kids involved, and whether you win or lose doesn't matter. Well, that might be fine for rec ball, but I think at competitive sports in high school level and beyond, that's not the way to go.
And you want the players to get used to it. I could tell you a quick story. When I coached girls softball, I think it was 5th and 6th grade or 6th and 7th, and we started off 1-4, and the girls weren't. I'm watching it. I was assisting another coach who asked me to coach. My daughter was on the team, and the girls weren't into it. I mean, they were a ball. One time the pitcher was warming up, and the ball went by the pitcher into the outfield. Second baseman and shortstop watched the ball go out there. The center fielder watched the ball. The pitcher had to go run out and get the ball. Now, one of them went after. I called a timeout. I got all the girls over, and I got on them big time about it. I said, you girls, if you don't want to come down here, don't come down here. I said, there are players that want to learn the game and play it right. So, a couple of girls were upset. Well, they ended up winning 11 games in a row, and they ended up winning the championship. Now I'm watching them give out trophies, and all the girls excited. And I go to the coach. I said, what a difference than back when we were 1-4. Now they're more into it and they're enjoying it. I'm telling you, Ron, the directors in a lot of these sports, they don't have the right attitude. They just want the girls and boys to go out there, let them play, let them enjoy themselves. Who cares if they improve? Well, but if they get better at it, that's when they really enjoy it, Ron.
Well, my emphasis is on teaching. Game management is less important to me. I enjoy practice. I love practice. I love to see the kids, how hard they work, and to see their skills improve. The challenge is to develop drills that work for your players and your team and your system. We are not, by any means, I think, system coaches. If we had 4 girls who are going to be 6'2", we'd be saying we have to work, the low post game almost exclusively and play zone defense and do whatever we had to do to win with, that type of team. But, when we have a diverse group of talented athletes, we like to play a more open style. And as a coach, when you're pressing and when you're fast breaking, you are saying to the players, you have freedom. You can play the game, and it's way more important to teach kids how to play basketball than how to run plays.
Yeah, how do you feel as a coach, though, Ron, right? When you're coaching a group of players and that's the best system for them, and they're really enjoying it, and they're improving a ton, and then they go up to high school, and there's a coach there that has his system, doesn't look at the whole picture, doesn't look at what he has in front of him. You're going to run my system after working with a group for 4 years and knowing they're going to go up there and they're not going to have that same type of freedom. They're going to be more directed to run a play a certain way, and their assets won't come out with a lot of these players because of it. How do you feel as a coach when that happens?
Well, I think it's frustrating when you see players who have success at one level and then struggle at another level. That it's hard to understand, and we've all seen that. We grew up with players who, were maybe dominant players in Little League or Pony League, and then they get to high school, and for some reason it didn't work. Sometimes it was more the player than the team. Sometimes the level of competition changes. But basketball is a team sport, and I don't think everybody's suited to play a certain style. If you have a group of strong, powerful kids who are inside players, like, for example, the team with Hannah Brickley, Colleen, etc., you'd be silly to spend all your time shooting threes or, strictly in transition. But, for the most part, we think that basketball is best played fast.
Yeah, but how do you feel about, they have a star player up there now. To me, Brooke Bell should be one of the top 2 or 3 players in the Middlesex League this year. Is she going to have the freedom to play like that, or is she going to have to play under the system? That's what I'm talking about. When you have players like that, do coaches know enough? High school coaches, are they too stubborn? They have to run a certain system all the time. And you have a player like this. You have a player like Colleen Hanscom, who almost left Melrose High School because she wasn't able to play her type of ball. And the reason why she stayed at Melrose High School is because of volleyball. They would have lost one of the best players they've ever had, because, some coaches are too stubborn to see what they have in front of them.
Well, I think, creating an expectation set is important. We know that in volleyball, Coach Kelly is very good with the players as far as letting them know what their role is likely to be. And if they're not content with that, or if it's going to be disruptive, then maybe it's not right for them to be on the team.
To me, Coach Kelly's the best high school coach I've ever seen in any sport. He's by far. It's night and day. Chelly, the next coach in any school I've seen. Chelly is definitely the best coach I've seen. Every player that plays for him loves to play volleyball. They love him. They love Coach Wall. Anytime I talk to a player about volleyball, they just absolutely love it. To me, basketball is entirely different. They don't love basketball anymore when they go up there. Most of the players tell me that they enjoyed middle school basketball way better than high school. You can go from all the players, Colleen all the way down.
Well, basketball is a little bit different in that the practices, I think, are sometimes not as fun because there's a lot of emphasis on running. And volleyball, there's some running, but not to the same degree. And there's something different about a sport when your opponent's on the other side of the net instead of, with their fingernails dug into your neck.
Well, volleyball, I agree. Volleyball is easier to get real good at. All right, it's easy. It's not as, you don't have to put as much time into volleyball to become a star, and you have to put in basketball. Basketball is probably 50-1. You could be a great volleyball player and put in maybe 10%, maybe 5% of the time you put in basketball to be great.
Well, the hardest sport, of course, is the old round bat, round ball stories. You look at the apprenticeship people have to serve in the minors to get to professional baseball.
But again, the question is, why do the girls love playing high school volleyball compared to playing high school basketball? Is it because basketball's tougher?
I think that's part of it. A lot of it. I mean, when you grew up playing sports, the coaching made a big difference. You had certain coaches you played for and really had a good time, and other coaches that you didn't enjoy playing for as much.
Why do they love middle school basketball?
Well, it must be the coaches.
No, but really, why do they love it? I mean, I've had girls tell me, compare it. We don't enjoy it like we enjoyed middle school basketball. Why? Because, and that goes in a lot of sports.
Well,
I've talked to girls in other cities about it.
Well, there's different reasons, and one of the reasons is we play fast. When you play fast, you have to substitute more so everybody gets to play. And as a developmental program, it's a different philosophy anyway. We want to win. Don't mistake that. We don't live and die in the summer. The most important thing for our players is always going to be improve. If we don't win a game in the summer, it's all right as long as we're getting better.
Now let me ask you another thing. What do? The high school system is different than the system we run, but we're definitely against that type of a system. We're against you holding back these players and running a system. We're against, if you have a star player, that she's handling the ball as much as the other 4 players on the team. We're more up-tempo. Who's ever in the open floor gets the ball, and everybody knows. Another thing, our 4s and 5s, we let them handle the ball. I know in high school it's a little different. You don't want turnovers as much. So, of course, your guards can handle the ball better than your 4s and 5s. But if you let your 4s and 5s handle the ball more, like Jenny McGee. Jenny McGee should have handled the ball more in the open court last year. She could handle the ball. She's one of the quickest players on the team, but she never felt comfortable enough. She didn't do it in practice, and she was told not to give the ball up. So you're losing your 4s and 5s. You're losing that part of the game.
Well, I think if as an old man, if a young coach said to me, what's the most important part of coaching? I would say, number 1, it's to be able to communicate with your players. Number 2, it's knowledge. But number 3, be yourself. You can read books from Dean Smith or Pete Newell or John Wooden or Bobby Knight. And I've read a lot of their books. Not all of them, but a lot of them. But at the end of the day, I have to coach the way I believe and have my own philosophy along with you to try to make our players the best they can be. But not only the best they can be as basketball players, but as sons and daughters, if we've coached boys, and as students, and as citizens. So it's really a total package. We're not just interested in what you're doing on the court. We want you to be able to represent your community and to be somebody that we can be proud of.
Yeah, and you hope when the girls and boys go up to high school that the coaches care, enough about them and don't just care about, do I have a powerhouse this year, or do I have to coach this team up? You hope coaches can coach both, teams that need to work in their game. What I see in high school a lot of times is, it's the talent they get from the middle school. Whatever talent they get, I mean, forget about coach. If I get great talent, then I'm going to have great teams. If I don't get great talent, I'm not going to have great teams. You don't want to see that attitude either.
Well, there's a great saying, players don't care what you know, they care how much you care. And I think that's the most important thing as a coach, is really caring for your players and letting them know that. Because if you really don't love the players and love the team, it's hard to be successful, in the big picture.
Yeah, and that's what you hope for. So, like where we coach our younger girls, we just hope that when they go up to high school, they have a great experience. And that's what it's all about.
Well, thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Ron Sen.
And I'm Ralph LaBella, and thank you for watching Let's Talk Sports.